The day my wife declared her grand plan to turn me into her slave husband was the day everything changed. It wasn't subtle, nor was it in jest. Over breakfast, she set her coffee cup down with a determined clink and announced it like she was unveiling a revolutionary business proposal. "You know, Mark," she began, her eyes sharp and calculating, "I think it's time you embraced your true role in this marriage." "And what role is that?" I asked, genuinely puzzled. "A supportive, obedient husband who does exactly what his wife wants without question," she said, a smug smile playing on her lips. "In other words, my slave." At first, I thought she was joking. I let out a chuckle and reached for the toast. But the silence that followed was deafening. I looked up to see her expression deadly serious. My laughter died in my throat. "You're not kidding, are you?" I said, my voice tinged with disbelief. "Not at all," she replied. "This is how things should be. Women are the natural leaders in relationships, and men should follow." I stared at her, trying to process what I was hearing. Over the past year, our marriage had grown increasingly strained. Jenna had become more controlling, more demanding, but this was a whole new level. The idea of being anyone's slave was laughable, yet here she was, laying out her plan as if it were the most reasonable thing in the world. "Jenna, this is insane," I said finally. "We're equals in this marriage. Always have been. Always will be." Her smile faltered, replaced by a look of disdain. "Equals? That's a fantasy, Mark. Someone always leads, and someone always follows. You've had your turn. Now it's mine." The rest of that day was a blur. Her words haunted me, replaying in my mind as I went about my work. Was this who she had always been, or had I been blind to the signs? That evening, she handed me a literal list of tasks and rules she expected me to follow. No arguments. No negotiations. For a few days, I played along, hoping it was a phase or some twisted power trip that would blow over. But it didn't. Jenna grew bolder, more arrogant. She micromanaged every aspect of my life, from what I wore to how I spent my free time. She even tried to control my friendships, dictating who I could and couldn't see. Then came the final straw. One evening, I returned home to find my belongings packed in boxes. My laptop, my books, even my favorite coffee mug. Jenna stood in the living room, arms crossed, a triumphant smile on her face. "What's all this?" I demanded. "A new beginning," she said. "From now on, you'll sleep in the guest room. You'll use your free time to focus on household chores and tasks I assign. And don't even think about touching that TV remote without my permission." I stared at her, my jaw tightening. "Jenna, this isn't a marriage. This is a dictatorship. Call it what you want," she said with a shrug. "It's the way things are going to be." That night, lying on the lumpy guest room bed, something snapped inside me. I realized I had been too passive, too accommodating. I'd let Jenna's domineering behavior erode my confidence and sense of self. But no more. If she wanted to play power games, she was about to meet a very different version of me. The next morning, I woke up early and hit the gym. It had been years since I'd set foot in one, but it felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I pushed through the pain, channeling my frustration into every rep and every mile on the treadmill. Over the next few weeks, I transformed physically and mentally. I read books on assertiveness, leadership, and personal growth. I reconnected with old friends who reminded me of the man I used to be. Meanwhile, Jenna continued her campaign of control, oblivious to the changes brewing within me. She underestimated me, and that was her biggest mistake. The showdown came one Saturday afternoon. Jenna had invited her friends over and was holding court in the living room, bragging about her newfound authority over me. I listened from the kitchen, a storm of emotions boiling beneath the surface. Finally, I stepped into the room. "Jenna, we need to talk." Her friends fell silent, their eyes darting between us. Jenna raised an eyebrow, clearly annoyed at the interruption. "Can't it wait?" "No," I said firmly. "It can't," she sighed dramatically and stood, motioning for her friends to stay put. "Fine. Let's talk." We moved to the hallway, and I shut the door behind us. "This ends now," I said, my voice low but steady. She crossed her arms. "What are you talking about? Your games. Your rules. Your so-called plan to make me your slave husband. It's over," she laughed, a cold, mocking sound. And what are you going to do about it, Mark? I took a deep breath, every muscle in my body tense. I'm done being your doormat. You've treated me like garbage for months, and I've had enough. I've been working on myself, Jenna. I've rediscovered who I am, and it turns out, I'm not the kind of man who'll tolerate being disrespected. Her smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. You're bluffing. Try me, I said, my voice like steel. I've already spoken to a lawyer. If you're not willing to treat me as an equal, then this marriage is over. For a moment, she just stared at me, her face a mask of disbelief. Then, anger took over. You can't do this. You need me. No, Jenna, I said, a small smile tugging at my lips. You need me. And you just lost me. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, speechless. In the weeks that followed, I moved out, finalized the divorce, and started a new chapter of my life. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. I'd found my strength, my voice, and my freedom. In the process, I reconnected with Emma, an old college flame who had always been the one that got away. We ran into each other at a coffee shop downtown, both of us reaching for the same book at the shop's small reading corner. Her laughter was as melodic as I remembered, and her eyes, those deep, soulful eyes, sparked something inside me I thought had long since died. Mark, she asked, her voice tinged with surprise and delight. Emma, I said, a warm smile spreading across my face. What started as a casual coffee turned into hours of conversation, reminiscing about the past and catching up on the years we'd lost. Emma was kind, understanding, and everything Jenna wasn't. She listened without judgment and saw the man I was becoming. Not the man I had been. Our connection deepened with every meeting. On a chilly autumn evening, under a canopy of stars, I finally found the courage to take her hand in mine. Emma, I began, my voice soft but steady, I've been through a lot this past year, but meeting you again feels like a fresh start. She smiled, her cheeks tinged with a delicate blush. I feel the same, Mark. You've grown so much, and I'm proud of you. That night, we shared our first kiss, a tender, electrifying moment that reminded me of what love was supposed to feel like. With Emma, there were no power games, no manipulation. Just mutual respect, trust, and an undeniable spark. As our relationship blossomed, I realized that true love wasn't about control or dominance. It was about partnership, about building each other up and facing life's challenges together. With Emma by my side, I felt invincible, and as for Jenna? She became a cautionary tale among our mutual friends, a reminder that power games and manipulation have a way of backfiring. As for me, I'm living proof that no matter how far you've fallen, it's never too late to rise again, especially when you find someone who lifts you even higher.